You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
Yep.
All right, Donnie Spiker.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Welcome, Greg Hectus.
Hey guys, how's it going this week?
Atlanta Dega, Justin Pearson.
Hello, my friends.
Welcome back. And Mackenzie Stevens.
Hey.
On the show tonight, we talk about everything Atlanta Dega, the new Dallara Dash and the Gen 4 series, and an absolute massive amount of hardware and software to pick through. Pull up a chair and join us in the lounge.
And remember, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all of the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. Hope to see you there.
All right, before we jump into the news, we've got a Coke race to cover. Kick us off, Mike.
Yeah, we got Coke at the new configuration of Atlanta this week. Derek Bardot, I'll remember from 2 weeks ago, is not in the race because of his wrecking under caution incident at the Milwaukee Mile 2 weeks ago. So he's not on track. But after they got started, actually it took quite a bit to get started. I think it was about 10 pace laps before they finally got the race started. I'm not sure if those were TV pace laps or what was going on, but we got it rolling. Ryan Luza, he leads it by lap one. It was only 0.001 over Malik Ray, as it was big pack racing, three wide, lap after lap, maybe 8 deep. At one point, the top three break away a bit. Luza, Bose, Conti. The center lane eventually disintegrates. 2 wide now for the pack. Breakaway is gaining, though. By lap 6, Keegan Leahy breaks loose. Graham Boland's on the apron. It was 4 wide, but they save it. They stay green. By lap 11, there's 2 distinct packs, the lead pack and a second one 2.5 seconds back, led by Caden Honeycutt.
Yeah, by lap 12, Alan Bose takes the lead with the help from Malik Ray. By lap 16, new leader Garrett Maines takes over. Lap 24, Malik Ray takes the top spot. They stay green. They hit the quarter race mark at lap 25. Malik Ray leads after a push from Casey Kerwin. A third of the way through the race is gone. Dylan Duvall has control of the top spot, and Bowden leads the bottom. Things look chill for the moment. When will they pit?
And because of the big pack racing, you were just kind of waiting for that caution, but it just wasn't happening. And everyone's just kind of waiting for that shoe to drop. And then who wants to pit early, because you never know. The other thing I'll point out is when they were in the pack racing with 3 wide, the bottom lane pretty much has to cut below the red line in the along the front stretch through the dog leg there, or quad oval or whatever you want to call it, just to make enough room for 3 wide. Because, and I just wanted to point that out, they're definitely going below the line. For Derek Justice and Matt Busa fans, they actually lost the main pack. We're trying to work together, and at lap 31, the 31 car went around. No caution, but they're both screwed without a yellow. By lap 48, another close call. Somehow they all saved it, but Jimmy Mullis gets the worst of it. He's now down multiple laps. Just past halfway, and Dylan Duvall has been leading for a while now. The bottom hasn't been able to prevail for some time now. Pit stops are imminent. 27 in the lead pack at this point. Dylan Duvall was looking really good. I was really rooting for him. He's been hot all last year. and he's been knocking on the door, and I was thinking this is his moment.
All right, 36 to go. Green flag. Pit stops were underway. Looks like about 6 or 7 cars ducked onto pit road. The pit, which, that's why they're changing in real life. The pit entrance were chaotic. Commercial breaks right during green flag stops. So that's awesome. Like timing couldn't have been worse. After stop, 17 car pack up front with 30 to go. Duval, Bowden, Ray, and Kerwin, Lowe, Lopez Jr., Leahy, Maines, and Wilson. Caution with 25 to go. Bowden is around. Colin Bowden, Ryan Luza, Caden Honeycutt involved.
Oh, we finally get that caution, but obviously stops got done there beforehand, so it all worked out. And then we have a restart with 21 to go. It was the Beaver Esports, Malik Ray and Garrett Lowe leading the field into turn one. It was a crazy restart. They were 3 and 4 wide, and then quickly another caution. 19 to go. It was Colin Keister.
Restart lap 15. Stephen Wilson and Jordy Lopez lead the field into turn one, and quickly caution with 14 to go. It's the big one. 11. Parker White got pushed into the middle, faded back, but Kerwin was getting pushed by Femiola up the middle, hit Parker, and it was on.
Yeah, big one. I was actually watching Casey Kerwin's stream, which is really entertaining to watch alongside the broadcast. For one, the stream is ahead. His Twitch stream's ahead about 30 seconds. So I saw the caution there before I saw it on the broadcast. But anyway, it was just one of those racing deals. But the middle was just no man's land. If you got pushed into the middle, you're going back. It was a restart, 10 to go. Stephen Wilson, Jordy Lopez Jr. lead into turn one. And caution, 5 to go. That's the second big one of the night. The 23 went from the bottom to the middle. The guy went behind, went up, way up high. They touch, and it's just a big wreck.
All right, green, white checkered number one, Wilson, Lowe, Salas, Lopez Jr., Bolin, Guest, Leahy, Cozy Jr., Keister, and Duval. Garrett Lowe, the leader, goes to block on Salas, but it's too late, and he gets turned. Caution.
What do you think about the leader blocking? I mean, switching lanes up front. It's always a roll of the dice, but this guy, I mean, he just took it, and obviously it was too late, too little, too late.
It definitely seems harder with this car. We mentioned in our group chat yesterday or the day before, you have to have a decent lead to be able to switch lanes back and forth.
So that brings us to overtime restart number 2. Stephen Wilson, Jordy Lopez Jr. lead the field. I want to stop and say Jordy Lopez is a rookie, and he's up front at the end of the race. Bottom was looking good on the restart. The outside actually fades. They made it to the white. The second line was coming, though. They go 3 wide. Keister looks like he can do it, but Wilson wins. Checkered flag. Stephen Wilson wins at Atlanta. He holds off Keister by 0.03 for the inaugural start at the new Atlanta reconfiguration. The third-year driver is already a 5-time race winner, good enough for 9th on the all-time win list. Well done. And he's picking up right where he left last year. I mean, Stephen Wilson was one of the cars to beat almost every race, especially at road courses. I mean, he really excelled, I think, at COTA and some other places, but on ovals too. So nice to see Stephen Wilson, continuing that good form.
You think Atlanta Dega is a good track for the Coke Series?
I think it fits this style of racing. Short distance, they kind of shortened the distances recently. I don't know if I really like that or not, but it's a NASCAR call. But no, I think it worked out good.
All right, let's open up by starting to discuss this new user guide feature that shows the future of iRacing and the iRacing web. Instead of reading it word for word, I can basically sum up what we have here on the notes in that they are going to sunset the classic website completely and build a new iRacing web unit that is for editing leagues and I guess profiles. What was it? Basically, you can allow it can let you do things such as managing teams in leagues. Yeah, that's it. And then the
Stats.
yeah, probably should be able to look on the stats there, definitely. And it's basically going to be designed for when you don't have the service installed, all the stuff that you would still might want to look at when you don't have the service installed.
The iRacing web will only be supported on PC browsers. Mobile browsers is not supported. If you try to use a mobile browser, it'll direct you to the app, which the iRacing Companion app for a better experience. But it's just, offline iRacing stuff. You can look at your content, you can do this or that, look at your stats, that kind of thing. Um, and when you buy content, you'll do it through what they call iRacing Web. And then they're still trying to rebrand the beta UI to a different name and just call it iRacing is what they want to call the beta UI. And then the actual sim they call iRacing Simulation.
So, what would be the reason they would get rid of the classic member site, the website, and create a whole new website? Is it just too outdated? What's the reason behind that?
I'm guessing that it's more of a they're going to port what they have, so to speak, port or copy, and it's probably just easier just to start over. And it sounded to me like it's a whole new link. It's not even the same link as before, which was members.iracing.com. They indicated somewhere I read it indicated it would be a different link.
Hopefully, it's a smooth transition and there's no problems.
All right. So next up, Mike, I think you like to run a lot of Delara dashes. So take this one over.
Beginning with season 2 next week, the Delara Dash is now going to feature a different car, the IRO1, with the new oval package. Schedule is updated and can be seen here. And wow, I did not expect this. I guess it makes sense with all that's going on with the IndyCar licensing, the Indy 500 licensing with the MSG and all that stuff. Why not, remove the IndyCar from the Delara Dash and put in a Delara IRO1, especially with the new oval package, and try to get people to run it. Um, I do like it. The schedule is interesting. To me, Delara Dash has always been a switch between 2 or 3 races, 2 or 3 different tracks. They don't really do a full schedule like a 12-week season, but that's what they've set up here is like a proper schedule, a different track every week, all 12 weeks.
And it's still unranked, correct?
Yeah, my understanding is it's still unranked. So yeah, I've run this twice. I was very interested, Charlotte, and I won the second one. I was in contention for the first start, and it's a blast, guys. I mean, once you figure out what the car is capable of, you're in 7th gear, you're flat, you're just lifting going into the corner to about half, just briefly, and then you're right back to full throttle. So it's almost full throttle the whole way around, but you do have to lift, which creates passing opportunities and that kind of thing, and line matters, and it's really hard to drive. And the other feedback I had was the steering feels super light for a car this big and heavy, and with the amount of G forces that are going on, the steering felt way too light.
We're getting complaints in the Gen 4 with that exact statement. Look at week 12. Look where they're going on the big track.
iRacing Super Speedway. Wow. So when I was in one of these races, I had a conversation with a guy. I'm trying to remember his name, but he is the king of Delara Dash. He wins them all. He wins all of them. Like he spends all his time in there. I think his name is Kevin. Kevin McCarthy. That's his name, Kevin McCarthy. So I talked to Kevin McCarthy and I basically interviewed him. I was like, Kevin, you're known for winning all these Dallara dashes. You have more wins in this series than anybody. You're always the car to beat, no matter who shows up. How is this change affecting you? And he was, of course, surprised. He wasn't expecting it. But he's excited for the new opportunity to see if he can, kind of replicate his success with this different car. So, I said, well, RIP, man, to your record, at least for now, until you get the handle on the new car. But uh, kudos to Kevin McCarthy for having such a record in an unofficial series.
All right, Mackenzie, we've got a new patch coming out. The first one for season 2.
Yeah, so this patch includes updates and fixes for the 2023 Season 2 release, as well as the official release of the Gen 4 Cup car. So iRacing has static assets and series standings. Changes have been made to resolve sporadic failures when loading standings, time attack schedules, some layers of track maps on the Classic member site and in iRacing, as well as some schedule data from iRacing Live. These errors were occurring due to misconfiguration on the content delivery network, allowing this data to be cached without the necessary headers, causing it to fail. So I actually did try looking at like the standings and stuff, and they seem to be working. It's not showing up anymore. So
They heard Donnie and I talking about that, and boom, there it is. I'll have to look at standings now and see if it's fixed. I wonder if they fixed the division though, where you can see what place you are in what division.
that yet see them.
It works, Mike.
Right. Yeah, some other fixes in the simulation, as they call it, with the new damage model, fixed a damage data processing issue that could cause cars to become outer space vehicles. They did some Spanish spotter and Portuguese spotter changes.
I'm looking at the Gen 4. So when I went to run the Gen 4, Mike, I couldn't understand why my paint wasn't showing up on the car. So essentially, through this patch, they reverted the ARCA car back to the ARCA car, and they kept the Gen 4 car like they said they would. And it's under a whole different listing now in your My Content. So you'd have to actually go to Trading Paints and select Gen 4 Cup to actually put a paint on it.
I see. So I need to get into Trading Paints and do that. I know I talked to Bobby, our team painter, and he's working on a Gen 4 paint for me.
Nice. It was fun.
Some little changes to the Dallara IR01. The additional gear option's been added for Super Speedway. Steering ratio is adjustable now for fixed. Setup's updated.
Yeah, they changed the late model stocks steering, their maximum wheel rotation. And I guess that was from feedback from Dale Jr. I don't know if that has anything to do with the grip that it had, but they've done some stuff to the car.
Well, Justin, this isn't a change yet, but it's an interesting suggested change. What do you think this idea that Andrew Benog has?
Yeah, Andrew Benoff asked in the forums, can we please bring back the 2003 Cup Series rules for the Gen 4 series? Lap cars to the inside, no lucky dog, and racing back to the yellow. I have not ran these cars yet, and that's pretty neat.
So for you two that have been on much longer than we have, how easy is it for them to change parameters like this, like racing back to the yellow, for each individual series per track you go to?
I honestly don't remember if there ever was racing back to the yellow.
We've never had that.
On iRacing came on after that change was made. Yeah, I'm curious because in the 87s, I didn't run the regular week 12 series, the 87 Legends, but when you get to NIS, I guess it followed NIS rules and it confused a lot of the usual 87 runners, because I guess there it's single file. You don't get your lap back. You get the wave around, but you don't get a lucky dog. So it would be nice if they can revert back to the I don't know if you want 2 series running single file restarts though.
Well, that's interesting because you shouldn't even get a wave around. If you're on the tail end, you have to start behind the pace car in front of the leaders.
Yeah, and that's what they do, unless I can't remember if they didn't do wave arounds back then.
No, they didn't. If you stayed out and the leaders pit, you started in front of them on behind the pace bar. You didn't get to go around.
You're right. And they had the lap car starting on the inside. I do remember that.
So the deal is with that is if the lap car can get in front of the leader and then the caution comes out, the pace car picks up the leader, so the lap car gets to get his lap back.
Yeah, and you would
So
do
that's
that
the
easily
idea.
because if the leader was running back to the start finish line under yellow, they kind of would just get there, and then the lap cars would be hauling ass to try to beat them back to the yellow line or start finish line to stay on the lap
I
or
remember.
to get their lap back.
Yeah, you'd like have a teammate who was going down a lap. You would slow, so you would let him get in front of you before you get to the line.
What do you guys think about racing back to the yellow?
I'd love it.
It's never been a good safety idea.
I'm just thinking about, it doesn't give the guys incentive to lift when a big wreck's coming.
Yeah, and there's ARCA braking's already bad enough.
We already have that incentive, though, Justin, because of the way the cautions don't come out and things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that
Especially
happened.
when cars spin low. If cars get spun off the surface and you check up, you see 5 cars blast by you. And you have to run them back down, and then they race you like they are actually faster than you.
It's interesting, but this series has been out a week, and so far, so good. We'll see what changes they do to the car. Let's just see how this season works out and see what they can do for the future.
So I've always understood that once a season starts, a 12-week season, they can't change these kind of parameters on the fly. Maybe they can now, but I don't think they used to be able to do that. But I'm kind of surprised. Like, why wouldn't they start the Gen 4 with the 87 rules already instead of starting them with modern NASCAR rules? I mean,
because
when we run those 87s, yeah, they're so similar.
Gen 4 went into the modern rules, so I mean, Gen 4 spanned almost 2 decades.
Yeah, but as far as these rules go, like lap cars to the inside on the restart, single file, lead lappers on the outside, no lucky dogs. So that's how we run it in the 87. So I kind of assumed we would just get the same rule package in the Gen 4, but it wasn't the case.
Yeah, that change happened during like the 2/3 of the Gen 4's life. So Gen 4 lived several different rule packages. They actually ran the modern rules towards the end of its life. So I guess it kind of fits for now until they change it. Yeah.
And the date here doesn't really work so good because 2003 is actually the year the lucky dog rule came into place.
All right, 2002 then.
All right, Donnie, looks like we've got some contests for season 2.
Season 2 2023 brings with its great opportunities to win great prizes from companies like Butt Kicker, Sim Magic, Moza Racing, Extreme Sim Racing, Ricmotech, Falcon Tire, Goff Reality, Next Level Racing, and Pure Driving School and SimLab. So through a post by Angela, I haven't heard this name in a while. Angela Tagar, she's a staffer. Tagariello. I'm gonna butcher that name. I apologize. But so Butt Kicker is giving away 10 Butt Kicker Gamer Plus units with haptic connected software. Now you can enter to be one of 10 winners, and all you have to do is race. How to enter? Just place the Butt Kicker logo found in iRacing's paint shop on any car in the primary location. Race at least 10 official races in 2023 season 2, and you're automatically entered to win one of the 10 Butt Kickers. And I'm assuming that's what's going to take for all the other ones as well. So through our, if you can't find it through iRacing, go to our website, click on the show notes, click this link, and it'll take you to the forum page where you can read about how you can win something from those companies we listed below or above, or I mentioned above.
This is pretty neat because you just pretty much need to go into paint shop, put the logos on the cars, run your racing like normal, and it just automatically puts you in the drawing and so forth, and you may win.
And honestly, it's a no-brainer, right? Because we all run training paints anyway, unless it somehow cancels that out. Because if you just
It
run,
doesn't.
okay, then just throw a logo on there. It's not going to hurt.
You're right.
Nothing.
Nobody's going to see it because everyone runs trading paints, but you do it for just to get the contest, just to be in the contest.
So it's almost like, which one do I want to go for? There's so many good choices on here.
Yeah, a lot of good prizes.
All right, this next one I kind of find interesting. Anthony Alfredo tweeted this, and I've heard it talked about on several of the other shows that I listened to this week, that pit road has been moved. And basically, it's all the way in the backstretch in turn 3, and that's where the speed limit starts, in fact. And they're just having to do this because there's not enough apron to pull off the track when you're running in this pack 3 wide. And we managed it last night, but this is still not a bad idea, and I would love to see iRacing implement this.
I'm curious to know if this is the longest pit road now with this turn 3 implication or implementation. You're losing at least, I would think, 2 laps if you pit under green here.
It's got to be close. I mean, the only things that probably can compete are the super speedways.
Yeah, at least those are much bigger, so hopefully you don't get caught up too much. But that's interesting. It's definitely would help us on the iRacing world because people are going to be pitting from that second lane, cutting down onto pit road under green here at Atlanta. But I'm just curious how it would work. Now, do you think they thought that, okay, maybe the commitment line has to be at the beginning of turn 3, but the speed limit line won't be until you get to the pit road? Because then I can see people trying to push it too hard and then wrecking back up onto the track.
Well, you don't want them racing on the apron, spinning out and washing back up into the track.
It'd be like 2 races in one. Yeah, it would cause problems.
Yeah, it probably needed to be up to have the speed limit on the whole thing.
It's funny mentioning those shows, David. I was listening to DBC, and TJ Majors was certain they did this last year. And I thought, how would you not know that they didn't do this last year?
If you're the spotter.
Yeah, just that picture alone, you're like, holy crap, that's odd looking.
Yeah, he was definitely an error there, wasn't he? But that's unusual for him to actually take a position. I know they probably don't listen to us, so we can trash talk them all we want.
I don't know.
Truth be told, that is the best of all the podcasts. I love kind of like us, it's an ensemble show, and those are always the ones that I think are most entertaining.
Yeah, I listen to them all too. I have my favorites here and there throughout the week. Sometimes they change.
All right, Mike. Does Sprint Car need some love?
Yeah, I think so. So does Nick Nebon, 5. He's looking for some love with the sprint car, and it's asking for racers to join him on Tuesday nights for an SOF race. He says, we're currently in a very positive era in iRacing where they're listening to community feedback. Help me push this sprint car to get some love and join us Tuesday nights for racing. And he's got a forum link where he's basically begging for some tire updates on this car, basically.
And he's saying official racing. He wants you Tuesday nights to run this car officially.
Right, exactly. Like an SOF race. And I actually did this not last year, but the year before for season 3, I ran the sprint car and tanked my I rating bad running this car, but it was fun. But when you get in those SOF races, there's about a dozen guys in there that are super fast, and it's impossible to be good against them. But it was fun. I love this car.
The craziest SOS I've ever seen is actually jumping in an A Open on a Monday night before a Coke race.
Well, I tell you what, Gen 4 Monday night, I think top split was 7,000 SOF above 7,000, one of the highest ever. And there
Yeah,
were like 800 people registered.
they had actually pushed that beginning start time back to the next slot because they weren't ready. I don't know if they weren't ready for the amount of people to sign up, but they not everybody was able to get in.
So it's Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern that he wants everyone to try to join up. He's got setups available and everything in the forum post. But the idea is let's drum up some participation. Guys, this is a dead series pretty much. I mean, there's just barely hanging on. And I can't tell you, this is one of the funnest oval cars on the service just because the level of difficulty in how to drive it. So if you haven't tried it, you should.
All right, this next one we can almost take as kind of a round table, but it's always interesting. We're always wanting to compare the sim racing to the real racing. I know I've gotten to run one car. We have real world Formula Ford driver Brandon Lee, and he says that the iRacing version of the Formula Ford feels like the real thing. And then we also have a tweet, my goodness, a tweet with the side by side of the Formula Ford and a real Formula Ford.
Yeah, I like it when you can actually see real world validation coming through these Twitter posts.
And there's also an article here about Max Esterson, and he was actually involved in the development of the Formula Ford 1600 testing for iRacing. So they did have some real world drivers running it. But it also details his recent experience in the car in the real world as well.
Those tires are tiny.
Right, narrow.
I think that's what the Cup car needs to make it harder to drive.
If you watch the video, I think it's cool. If you watch the hands, how they turn the steering wheel compared to each other is about 1-to-1. I think that's cool.
Like every bump moving the hand, one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. The real video looks a little bit more aggressive, but it seems to be 1-on-1, just the movements alone.
I think the real video just looks like that because it looks like he's probably got a GoPro or something mounted to the side of his helmet, so it's just bouncing around more.
Well, and the car
Yeah,
is
yeah.
actually bouncing, whereas the other guy, you're seeing the video, in-game video. You're not seeing whether he's in a motion rig or anything like that, or how high he's got the force feedback turned. That's just the simulator wheel that you're seeing.
Yeah. Also, this like the speeds of the car, they're in the same. He's in the same spot of the track almost the whole video going around.
Turn one at Brands Hatch.
All right, here's a big one, Mike. We're talking cheating in sim racing.
Yeah. This was a conversation in Discord, actually, in our iRacers Lounge Discord channel. And if you're involved, you were probably part of this conversation. Now, I picked a few quotes out of that conversation to try to get us going on the topic. It all started with Jimmy Broadbent actually putting out a video this week talking about cheating in sim racing. Now, he's not really talking about iRacing, of course. He's talking about Assetto Corsa, Competitive Zone, and for the F1, 2022 game, apparently. Anyway, he said, just a quote from Dr. Orzi. He said, Jimmy Broadbent asked, If iRacing is seriously the only legit sim out there currently, I know we can easily be pegged as fanboys, but just look at the facts. Sure, iRacing had its own cheating scandal through Daytona, but that was actual drivers and teams doing unethical things. It wasn't people with cheats opening up a third party app to gain more grip or a physics advantage or other non cheating competitors. I know iRacing isn't perfect, but do know they are pretty stringent with anti cheat. I hope they use all this current crap as a heads up and even focus harder on this side of things and keep the cheats out. Is the massive prize money that's on offer these days the only cause? And is it just going to get worse? Do we end up with a scenario where every Joe Blow is opening up a third party app, tripping over each other to buy cheats and hacks instead of setups before joining a race?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm glad we don't experience it here, and I hope we don't in the future.
Well,
Yeah,
one of
I
the
think
things
like
one of the things
go
that
ahead.
makes iRacing a big advantage with the subscription model is they're always constantly updating the software, so that makes it harder to put in a hack because they can. First of all, they're watching their servers a lot more closely than probably these other software companies are. Because once they have their yearly or whatever release out, they stop giving a shit. Right? They may patch it a couple of times, but they're not constantly building and fine tuning and catching things. So that's the advantage of having a subscription based service.
It
And
just
that's
takes.
exactly. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
No, I was just gonna say it just takes the fun out of it. You know, I kind of enjoy the emotion of iRacing. You know, the ups and downs. That's what brings me back.
Yeah, I always tell people, Justin, if it wasn't hard, nobody would do it. It's hard, and that's why you're coming back. Because when you do win one of these races, it's saying something. We had a quote from the Discord on Christopher Dahlstrand, and he pretty much said what David said, so I'm not going to repeat it, but he said, "We pay for subscription, which ensures we have enough staff and resources to take care of the need. We also invest more in our accounts, so there is more on the line for us when it comes to racing clean, but also when it comes to competing clean."
Yeah, you're right, because you can lease all this material, right? But they can just ban you if they want for you being a dirty driver or whatever.
And you're racing under your real name,
Yeah, racing
in
in your
most
real name.
cases,
They won't give you your
your
money
own
back.
reputation. Yeah, and so I'll sum it up the story with a tweet from Haroslav Honzik. He said, "I must say I'm hurt with all these cheating problems in Sims, and especially now as it hit ACC as well. I literally caught myself yesterday racing and thinking, what if the guy ahead of me cheats as well? I don't want to think stuff like that, and I haven't for years. What to do?" Well, I actually replied to this guy and I said, "Well, you need to get on iRacing."
Yeah, he's that's Jardier. He was a part of the All Star series in the Porsche series last year, I believe.
Now, did we talk about what kind of sparked this conversation last week? Did we cover it, or did that break after the show?
I
After.
don't know if we did. Yeah. That one of the yeah, so what happened is one of these streamers, these pro eSIM sport drivers, he was, preparing for the race, loading a set or whatever. He brings up a Windows Explorer window on his, stream, and it shows these different executable programs, maybe 10 or so, with very, obvious names like grip hack or something like that. And then
And
what happened is,
it was a guy from Williams Esports.
yeah, and so he hit it real quick, and then his face got all red. And then like the next day, he puts out a statement saying, "Oh, I'm working with ACC on a investigation into these third-party cheat apps behind the scenes. That's why I have them." Blah 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 blah. Now, ACC has not confirmed that that's the case or not, and so the sim racing Twitterverse is a little kind of back and forth. There's people that are calling him a cheater, and other people say, "Look, you don't really have proof. Maybe he's telling the truth about working with ACC, and you shouldn't be saying that." And so there's a lot of that he said, she said going on.
Well, there's no she said right now. He's the only one saying it, and since AC has been quiet, or ACC has been quiet. Well, Mac, one of the things, or one of the places that you really don't have to think about as much as cheating is iRacing, and we have a series that you can now qualify for pretty soon. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so iRacing put out a tweet. They say, "Think you've got what it takes to compete at the top level of our off-road series? Hop into the Pro 4 off-road racing series and see if you can qualify for the championship series later this year."
$25,000 in prizes with no sponsor. I don't think they don't have a sponsor. So pretty cool. I mean, they're going to take the 12 top racers from the last year's championship. They're going to take 12 new people. Those new people will be determined by who the top 12 are in points in the Pro 4 Trucks Open over the 8 weeks of this season. So starting immediately this week, you need to be in the Pro 4 Trucks Open and trying to get into the top 12 in points.
All right, and as we talk about the off-road championship, we have the actual series championship series listed as well, right, Donnie?
These are the same story.
Oh, okay. So this is just the actual schedule then.
Yeah, this is basically what I just read off, where the top 12 are going to be able to go with the existing 12.
And if you look at the forum post, you can it has the entire yeah, like I said, schedule. A lot of
It's
repeated.
pretty cool. We have 4 tracks that they're rotating. So with 8
Yeah.
weeks, you're going to each track twice.
Actually, what I'm looking at is 12 weeks.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. Each track 3 times.
Oh, I see it.
And as we're talking events, next up, I'll pick this one up because I'm running it. We've got the 2023 Sebring 12 presented by VCO. It's going to be the IMSA cars. If you don't know what that is, we go over it all the time. It's the new IMSA cars. It's got the new BMW hybrid, and that I know that's what me and Greg and Tom are planning on running. It's going to be running the same stuff that we have, the 3 time or the 4 time slots. And if you're talking GMT, that's 22, 7, 12, and 16. Got to have that D 4.0 license. The sim time of day setting is 9:30 a.m. So it's going to be daytime for most of the race. Probably it'll run a little bit into sunset, even though daylight savings time is in effect. 30-minute warm up attached to qualifying. At Team of Fit, there's no DQ limit, but there's a stop and go after 50 incidents and then every 20 after that. There has been some balance of power added, and at a glance, they've added a lot of weight and taken some power from the Audi, taken a little bit of power from the BMW. They cut the fuel on the Ferrari, a lot of weight to the Lamborghini in power, about the same hit as the Audi, which is interesting because I've heard a lot of people say those are basically the same car. Then the Mercedes has lost some power and fuel, and the Porsche got hit with the biggest weight penalty at 15 kilograms and a cut of 1% fuel capacity.
The cast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. Join us over on the Discord channel and get involved in the conversation. Or check out the script on the website, iRacersLounge.com. We're in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network.
All right, how'd everybody do on their fantasy this weekend?
That was an interesting race. I was going up, going down. None of my drivers crashed, but I ended up finishing 31st, I believe.
Ouch. Yeah, I got the top 10 here, or top 5. We had Trick Dickel in first at Phoenix, Res Dog second, JTC 11C in third, and then check this, we had a tie for fourth, a 4-way tie for fourth, all with the same 263 points. Conklin Speedworks, North South Racing, ROP Racing 77, and Mason Racing. And finally in fifth, Boats and Hose.
8th.
Well, I guess it would be 8th. But if they're tied for fourth, doesn't that put him in fifth? No, I guess it doesn't.
Otherwise, you'd have like 14 people in the top 10.
The highest of our team looks like 13th with Tyler Williamson. Tom Dryling in 15th. Nick Spiker, 16th.
Now, I take issue with even some of our teammates saying that the race wasn't good racing, considering we had a true long run versus short run event, which is what I kind of want to see, because it's what I look for in iRacing too. I don't want them to always be wrecking every 20 laps, or and your fastest car is going to be your fast car unless we had tire fall off in a situation. The long run car, Kevin Harvick, he made the pass, and then basically the only reason he lost is because of the late caution.
Yeah, you know me, I love the long runs. Longer the better for me. Corey LaJoy on his podcast kind of explained it the best I heard all week about why you shouldn't think it's boring. But I don't know if as the crowd base gets younger, they'll think with that mentality. I'm not sure, but I enjoy it. I enjoyed the race. I don't know what people have a problem with usually, but we have to have a problem with everything. So I don't know. I enjoyed it.
It's not younger people.
Mike Joy.
It's not younger people complaining that it's boring, though.
That's true.
40 and 50 somethings who think that everything was perfect in the 70s and 80s, when there was 3 cars on the lead lap.
I mean, that went into the 90s. Let's be honest. I remember watching, I think it was 98 or 99, Jeff Burton win. I think it was New Hampshire. Don't remember the race, but he won wire to wire. I don't think there was a caution the entire race. And I was a teenager. I sat there and I enjoyed it. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know.
Well, that was a specific race where they tried restrictor plates at a short track.
So it must have been New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's what happened that year. Another evidence why restricted cars at short tracks is dumb.
Yeah, and I'm with you, David, especially on the service. Not that it's because I'm better on the longer run. I just enjoy it because I actually might want to make a green flag stop every once in a while. Not every freaking 2 months, it seems like, with the NIS series. But yeah, longer races, caution free.
Okay, it's a quick side topic. Denny Hamlin. If you're in iRacing and you intentionally wreck a guy, but you don't say out loud that you intentionally wrecked him, then it might be viewed as an iRacing incident or just a racing incident. But if you go over the chat and you verbalize, like Denny said, that, oh, I meant to wreck him, does that put iRacing in a box where they have to penalize you no matter what because you said it?
Yes. But I still don't buy that he did that on purpose. I think he did it. He saw who he hit, and he's like, and I think he tried to be a man, for lack of a better term, and then claim that he did that on purpose. I don't know. It just looked odd.
Well, something you can do if you're pissed off at a driver is you don't necessarily have to hit him on purpose, but you sure can be a lot more careless around him, right? Oh no, I drove into that corner a little bit deep, or it just gets a little tight because you're driving a little bit deep and you door them. That's different than coming under caution and torpedoing somebody.
I liked Dale Jr.'s take on this, where he said, "Look, it's a 2 days later, the event's over. The guy should have some freedom of speech. He should be able to say whatever the heck he wants on his podcast without, penalty, kind of thing." And I kind of agree with him. I mean, times have changed a little bit.
Did Kyle
I don't
Larson have freedom of speech after his incident on iRacing?
Good point.
Right?
There's
you say
a
something?
social line, though, and I
Yeah.
think he might have crossed that. But
It was definitely a more severe incident, but 2 days later and not at the track, I don't think excuses it if you go ahead and admit to it.
I was watching some podcast and someone used the analogy. It was a girl, and she says, where do you draw the line? If he announced it 2 days later, 1 week later, if he was in the final four of the
Year later.
championship. Yeah, exactly. Where is that line when the driver can be honest?
Dale Jr. on today's episodes admitted to hitting somebody on purpose. Do we go back and change the records?
Right. Penalize him.
Let's
He's
say the
retired.
line is after the following week. I don't know. If you have to draw a line somewhere. Unless you're right hooking somebody at 180 miles an hour, then,
Just don't key up is what the lesson learned here from Denny Hamlin. Don't key up. That's a good title idea. Don't key up.
And it wasn't even that awesome for him to man up and claim. Like, it was, it just made Ross look like if he actually says that their beef is over, then Ross wins that rivalry hands down.
And I think it was on the Dale Jr. download too. I just watched it. Another angle to look at is, it's not allowing the drivers to be honest. Denny's got this podcast. It's very good for NASCAR. And they're taking that away from him. He can't be raw with true emotion. That's what the viewers like. And I just think it's a bad look.
He could have, knowing the law a little bit, he could have admitted to it without admitting to it, in essence.
It's the way you word it, right? Innuendo,
Yeah. Kind of how what David was mentioning earlier, but you could still take it a little bit more aggressive and lean more into implication, but not necessarily admitting to it. Either way, win-win for Ross.
All right, it's time for hardware software, featured and sponsored by Metro Ford. We're going to kick it off with some reveals of the Cube Controls SP01. Take it, Mike.
Well, it's not really, it's a reveal, and that's what they call it, but these pedals from Cube Controls have been shown to us 2 sim racing expos ago. So that was a long time ago. They never came out. And now their social media is pretty much promising an imminent release. And in fact, the second video shows the price reveal, which is going to be 1,100 euros. Now, these are not hydraulic. This is load cell. $1,100 for load cell.
I'd call that too much.
Yeah, it's too much. But I love how they look. They look great with that blue color. And I mean, it's eye candy, and that's what drew me in originally to Cube Controls. Their entire brand is eye candy.
So I'm just looking at the date of the video. It's 6 days ago, and it says they're 1 week away from launch. So launch day should be tomorrow then.
Yeah, we'll get reviews probably next week. Would be my guess.
Yeah, next week or two. they'll definitely work their way into the review section of our hardware. Speaking of reviews, Donnie, we've got an Esotec Forte F1 wheel that's being reviewed.
Yeah, the Sim Circuit. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of him.
He's great. He's new.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. He basically opens up the conversation by saying that he purchased this wheel on his own. He goes over how much it cost. I didn't catch where he's from, but it cost him about $800 total, or whatever denomination where he's from, to be able to get this wheel. Ultimately, he liked it. He said, amazing wheel, loving it. Solid wheel, really liked it. A bit disappointed about the color. So the color I thought was, so what you see in the thumbnail is what he got. Those are the colors. But when he went to purchase it, all the knobs are orange and it had a lot more color to it. So when he opened up the box, he was a little surprised that it had very little trim color to it as well. But overall, he liked the wheel. Even though he said when he was holding it and he was twisting it, giving it a lot of force, he can feel the grips twisting. And if you remember from these Acetec videos in the past, those grips can come off and you can interchange them with whatever. They're like a 2-piece rubber that you screw in, which I'm not a fan of that for quality build or build quality. But he liked it, but he's paying $800 for this wheel alone. So in my opinion, for if I was paying that much for the wheel, it'd be a little overpriced, because when he holds it, it almost looks like a toy. But I'm gonna go and
Plasticky.
it's plastic. It looks plasticky. Even in his hands, I'm not holding it, but when he holds it, it just looks like a toy. But he is the Sim Circuit, and I'm gonna look him up right now and actually give him a follow, because he was completely honest. And you guys would be surprised how many of these reviewers we watch and we put faith in actually charge the companies for their reviews. But when you see somebody like this who's purchasing the wheel, it gives you a little bit different perspective.
Or the guy Carl Gosling, he does that a lot. He buys it and then he'll sell the equipment after the review.
Yeah, I've listened in and tried to place his accent, and it sounds UK-ish, except he's talking really slow. I've never heard anybody UK talk that slow.
So I started UK, and then I went Eastern European. So I don't know where he's at.
I looked on his YouTube channel. It says he's from United Kingdom.
Oh, there you go. So I also was, I mean, that was the big surprise to me, is the color scheme change, because he showed a clip from the original videos of the owner of Acetec showing off the products that we got back in, I think, December. And I remember those videos, and they had all that all the knobs were orange, and it had a lot of, offset black and orange, and it looked really nice. And this one's a lot more toned down. You only see orange in 4 spots on each side, way less than the original one. If I had purchased it and it wasn't the same exact thing that was sold to me on the website and on the videos, I would have been pissed too.
You mentioned that, Mike, and in his video, as he's describing that, he cuts to the actual Acetec video of the guy telling you about the colors and how the wheel looks. I thought that was very clever.
Yeah. Good video. We have a second video about the same company here, our friend Dave Cam. And he has the Acetec wheelbase, the big one. And no, it's the middle one, I believe. And here's what he said: it looks great. The fit and finish, it's a quality product. Performance, he said, it outperforms the SimuCube Pro. Dave Cam is ready to buy it. And I'm a little surprised that, it's not the first time we've heard in recent weeks that this wheel outperforms SimuCube.
Isn't it basically SimuCube IP?
It is. And they must have they've done something to make it better than what SimuCube's offering, apparently. Or is it a placebo effect?
And it's cheaper.
There you go.
I mean, I really respect everything Dave Cam thinks, but that you claim something like that, and it's hard to eliminate placebo effect unless you're really swapping them back and forth and doing some scientific studies.
Yeah, and he's going off of just a feel. But we've heard other reviewers say similar things, and so There was also a difference in slew rate. Remember, that was one difference between the wheels, apparently. But I don't know if I was buying today, I would be considering the Ace Attack along with the SimuCube based on the reviews.
What about aesthetically compared to the SemiCube?
SemiCube looks a lot better, I think.
Just gonna say, there's no way.
It's industrial. It's simple. It's sleek.
I don't need my. Never mind.
You don't need the fancy LED.
No.
I mean, I like the LED stuff, but I don't need it on the wheelbase. No.
I'm always worried about that since I'm racing in VR all the time. It's like I gotta have all the lights.
And you got the nice flutes going down the edge. I mean, it's stylistic. I mean, it's for somebody.
Well, here's the thing: is it going to offset? So right now, before this company came into the scene, I think it's a given that SemiCube is like the end all be all of where you would end up with a wheelbase for most sim racers across the board. And so, is this company going to offset them on the throne of that? As far as, hey, this is the one you want to achieve for.
I'm always a fan of competition. Whatever pushes companies to get better is always better.
And Fanatic is no slouch, but probably knowing what I know now, if I wasn't really completely invested in the ecosystem, it would be I might not make the same choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Back when you bought your wheel, though, David, direct drives were new. It was a very new thing then, and the scene's different now.
Yeah, I was super happy with my direct drive. The only thing from Fanatic that I'm really down with is their shifter, and the buttons on the Formula wheel all constantly break, so I've just stopped replacing those. But the wheel itself, and the base have always been really consistent for me, so I've been pretty happy with them. All right, Justin, you get the next one. We've got some kind of, I guess it's a GT wheel actually.
Yeah, it looks like we got a rim here where it's a guy's got a post here saying, while work on the project continues, enjoy a couple more photos of the Caravangos GT steering wheel in Alcantara. There's a lot of words there.
Yeah, expected retail price is going to be $850. 300 millimeter. It's got a great look to it. It's different than the standard Formula wheel or GT wheel. It's kind of a long and narrow, I guess you would say.
It's
And
almost
it's got like
a hybrid.
padding.
It's literally almost a hybrid between the two, because the top is more like a Formula wheel and the bottom is more like a GT wheel.
Usually
it looks a lot like the Tesla Plaid wheel, if you guys have seen that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not typically a fan of what I think would be a futuristic design, but something about this wheel is calling to me, and I think it's what David's saying. It's almost a hybrid of both the GT and the Formula wheel.
It's got the kind of the padding in the middle too, which is unique. I've never seen that really on a Formula wheel. We see that on oval wheels all the time, where you put a padding in the middle. But yeah, I like the look of it. It is single paddles on the back. It'd be nice if it had double paddles at least. But yeah, pretty cool. They have a website, caravangos.com. They actually have pedals too, by the way. But I thought I'd showcase the wheel because the wheel, like you said, Donnie, it calls to me. It's got this look, like you said, I don't know if it's a futuristic because it's a blend of the two different styles or the padding or what, but I like it.
It's got a tag of minks in the at the name up there, so I wonder if it's from Belarus.
Well, the website, yeah, I can't tell where it's from.
All right, well, moving back into the SimuCube environment, SemiCube has posted an Instagram video that has some quick tips on their new active pedal system. They've also unveiled a new base plate for the Huskinville pedal adapter kit. So I see some excitement right out of Donnie. So talk to me.
It just looks massive. It looks huge. I'm looking down. Man, Tony's gonna have a great time with this episode. In my mind, I can hear it already. I'm just looking down at my pedal plate. That thing is massive, so I would have to bolt somehow down in there. But I guess it'll work.
So is that 3 different pedals on that picture?
Yeah, you got 2 Huskenfelds and then the 1 SemiCube in the middle.
Okay, so for the brake.
Yeah. And are they promoting that you don't need 3 of them?
We don't really need one for the gas or the clutch to be true.
I wonder if they're having a hard time with their selling their 3 pedal set and they're just giving up and saying, here, this is what it could look like.
I would love to have these.
Oh, I'm going to jump ahead. I mean, there's a different video down the script from Daniel Morad where he reviewed these pedals. And he was given a set early on, and he's got brake and throttle. And he said he's happy that he's got one for the throttle because he likes to match it up to his real cars. Throw distance, how far does the pedal actually move, how much resistance it has. He can tailor all these different things with the software and basically simulate any car in the way the pedals behave. Glowing review. Obviously, he's sponsored by SemiCube, and he does state that, and he got the pedals for free and so forth. But yeah, what's neat about Daniel Morad's video is he literally sits down and goes through the software with you and shows you the curves of the pedals and stuff. And he talks about why he sets the curves a certain way. He's like, oh, this default curve's no good. This is not, I would never run it like this. This is what I want it, what we need to do. And he shows you how he's adjusting it. So if you did have these pedals, I would strongly recommend getting that video and trying to learn, how to manipulate these profiles. Very cool. The base plate is massive. I got to say that too, just like Donnie did. When Daniel Morad shows it on video, he's got the 2 plate. He's got it like on a table. He doesn't have it mounted yet, but he's got the big base plate and he's got the pedals on it. And this thing is long. It's like, I want to say 3.5 feet, 4 feet long or something. Like if I put this on my Sim Labs P1X, it's gonna stick out beyond the end of my rig. That's how big it is.
Well, if you look at the pedal base for the Huskinveld compared to the SemiCube pedal base, it's literally a third or a quarter of the length.
Well, you got to admit the SemiCube tray is massive, and a lot of that, the front third of it is a heel plate, a place to put, rest your heel, and it's a nice, it's not too small. I mean, it's nice and big.
All right, Mackenzie, I'm looking at this next one, and I know teammate Bobby is often. I've seen his stream deck. It's pretty neat because you can see the keys and stuff change. But this one's even neater with the buttons and such.
Yeah, so hybrid racing simulations. They put an Instagram post on here, and they have a do-it-yourself kit for a Steam Deck. So it looks like they created a Steam Deck with no labels or anything on it, and you just get to build it the way you want to.
Well, it's a housing that goes around the Steam Deck is what they're selling that has additional buttons on it off to the left.
Yeah, and a Steam Deck, instead of labels, those actually light up. They're little mini LCD screens, basically.
And they can be programmed to be different, depending on what car or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or you can move to different pages and stuff for different options.
I think a Stream Deck's going to be my next upgrade.
What do you think about an enclosure for it like this?
It's almost
How
a
do you
no-brainer.
mount it?
Oh, you can mount anything, but this seems like a no-brainer. If I were to run a Stream Deck, I would definitely want an additional 6 buttons, a rotary knob. It looks like you got 3 rotaries, so I mean, heck.
Rotaries are important. I think volume control is very important. Like separate volume for the main, separate for the LFE, separate for the spotter, separate for TeamSpeak, separate for the drivers, and you mix them like an audio mixer, like David is, and you mix them all where you get the right levels, you know. And so it's important to have knobs for that.
Yeah, when we're not doing the show, I can just go do that after the fact, right? With Pro Tools. But you definitely need that for. I've done live shows too, or even we even use the sound system out on the marching field now with some wireless mics, and we're mixing it just like you do with sound. You got to balance everything once you start using electronics.
That probably took longest to figure out is the sound in iRacing, getting the tires to hear them right, getting the chat to hear over the engines.
Yeah, the first trick, even all the way back to R Factor days before I started iRacing, was that I was given was turn that engine down, turn the tires up, so you know how much you're scrubbing them.
I tell you what, a butt kicker under your butt will give you the same sensation. So you don't have to turn it up that much.
Yeah, but it's even better to double them up.
When you feel that the wheels squeaking, you can feel it. That's what's cool.
Yeah. Do yours ever overheat and shut off for a while?
Yeah, you just turn it down one notch and hope next time it doesn't shut off. That's kind of how I figured out where the balance is.
Yeah, but boy, isn't it really discomforting when it suddenly happens? And it's like,
oh yeah, like you're driving blind.
All right, Mike, what do we got next? Some kind of hydraulics, it looks like.
Yeah, the Mecha Evo 1 hydraulic pedals. Carl Gosling reviews this on his channel. He had a little problem with the fit and the finish. I think there were some rough edges, a couple little spots, but he did like the industrial look of it. Like the little hydraulic cylinder is on a hose, and you mount that separately from where the pedal is. You mount it like up again on your 80/20 somewhere, and it just connects to the brake by a hose. So it's got a different look to it than a lot of hydraulic pedals where all the hydraulic stuff is like right behind the pedal. It doesn't look like that. And it's got a really large brake pedal face, which is a little unusual. Usually you don't see ones that are full foot, but this one pretty much is.
Yeah, that is an interesting choice to have the hydraulic unit completely separate. The sim coach's design, it's attached as a unit, but it sits off to the side, not behind.
Yeah, I'm curious about you mounting that somewhere other than the pedal, like, and I don't know. They do use a lot of the same hardware as the sim coach's pedals use, and the same pressure sensor as well. I noticed was the same Willwood master cylinder, but the pedal faces look opposite. Like I think I want the longer face for the accelerator and the shorter one obviously for the brake.
I was thinking that looked weird, Donnie. Now that you say that, I think Carl has got those on backwards.
He may.
I think he's just holding the pedals in the wrong way right now.
Oh,
I think
okay.
the one with the long one is the accelerator.
Okay, I see the hose. I see it now. The hose is off to the right.
Take a look around minute 8, and you can see him with his feet on it. I can't believe he's doing it with socks. The hydraulics, it's so heavy.
So these are for sale. I found them on advancedsimracing.com for $941, $941 US for 2 pedals.
That's not terrible price-wise.
It actually
not
isn't
terrible.
That's like high-end load cells.
It's a hydraulic, I mean, that's a sub 1000 hydraulic pedal set. So it doesn't, I mean, you still have to get a base plate to go with it or have a proper base plate. But yeah, check it out. Now, in the same story, Carl, in a separate video, he reviews the same company's sequential shifter.
I was excited,
And
Mike.
What do you think of this one?
I was excited until I wasn't, but I'm sorry to cut you off back there. But it looks like it has a lot of potential, a lot of promise, but what he didn't like about it, and I don't know if you probably agree with me, Mike, but he said it didn't have a lot of action when you went forward and back. It was more like a spring. It was very soft. It didn't have that mechanical feel you'd want from a shifter. And he actually said he gets a lot more feedback and he enjoys his Fanatec in sequential mode over this thing. Even though just looking at this thing looked like it had a lot of potential.
Right. I like how long it is, tall it is. I mean, you really get a lever to yank on kind of thing. So yeah, the look of it looks pretty cool, but does it function? Yeah, I mean, I almost got the impression Carl was, almost feels like a handbrake, kind of thing.
Yeah, he did
You're just
mention that.
moving this thing back and forward, and it's pushing a button, kind of thing.
Well, I wonder if it's also the reason it feels so soft is because it's so tall, because you've got so much leverage.
Yeah, see if you can see the back of it where those springs are. So the springs are in the front and the back of this pivot point, and they're hitting two micro switches when the lever goes back and forth. So I don't know if you'd hear that because he said there's no sound to it at all, but you can hear when he depresses the micro switches, you can hear the click, 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 click. So, but yeah, he doesn't get any mechanical feel to it whatsoever.
I think that's why I like my Russian shifter so much. It feels like I'm shifting a car. Like when I drop it into gear, it's got a feel to it. Like you can feel this mechanical click, like it's dropping into gear.
All right, Justin, we've got an update concerning force feedback for Logitech wheels, particularly the DD Pro or Pro DD.
Yeah, Stafford Dave Tucker explains the 360 hertz force feedback update on the new build. And like you said, it's for the Logitech Pro DD.
Yeah, and he just gives some more information about what this is. And so I wanted just to read a quote of it, but he said basically we run our physics at 60 hertz, but internally we run the physics in an inner loop at 360 hertz. So we actually can't update the wheel more than 60 times a second, although we do have data points available at 360 hertz. So this is a backdoor that allows us to send that 360 hertz signal to the wheel 60 times a second. Then the wheel firmware can play back those samples with the appropriate delays to recreate the 360 hertz signal. This adds 16 milliseconds of latency, but gives a nice kick in frequency. It is a trade-off. And he goes on to say later in the thread, don't fool with turning this on if you don't have a Logitech wheel. If your wheelbases in the future support this in the firmware, iRacing will adjust automatically, is what he basically said.
That's a tough choice. The higher fidelity or the lag. 16 milliseconds is
a lot of milliseconds, right?
Yeah. I wonder what that's going to do to your timing on the feeling.
Is this why the Logitech force feedback feels so wonderful to so many people when it came out? Because of this particular feature?
I would suppose only if it's running on a sim that supports it, because it would not be the case with iRacing until they added this backdoor.
No, it's been added already, David.
Yeah, but how long ago? This post is March 6th.
It was the last major release, I think.
So the question is, was it added when everybody was doing their reviews, or were they not using iRacing?
Well, you're right. The timing of those reviews were before this was released.
All right. What about this next cockpit review, Mike?
Advanced Sim Racing ASR 4 cockpit review. Will Ford from Boosted Media reviews a very popular cockpit these days, the ASR 4. He has a lot of good things to say about it. I mean, I don't think anyone has anything bad to say about Advanced Sim Racing. They got quite a product. It's pretty much a P1X, clone from SimLab, SimLab clone. They have their own little tweaks to it and different things, but yeah, Greg bought an ASR 3. Justin, I think you have ASR.
No, I got a track racer, the
Track racer,
TR160.
yeah. All those, the TR160, the ASR, the Sim Labs, those are all pretty much the same cockpits. High quality. Yeah, he had nothing bad to say about it, really. The one thing that, now I want to say one thing that Will Ford was focused on was the powder coating. And that's one thing that Advanced Sim Racing does is they offer powder coating colors. When they first came out, they had some real flashy red and orange colors. I think they have a blue and so forth. But Will was concerned about how does that live up, to rough use, like him taking wheels on and off the thing over and over and putting T-nuts and tightening T-nuts down on the 80/20 channel. Does the T-nut not fit in just right because of the powder coating adds a little bit of thickness to it? And so his conclusion was it works. His concerns were unfounded, at least in the short term. Long term, that's to be seen. But at this point, he says the powder coating seems to be good to go.
Yeah, I have the ASR 6 with powder coating, and I was nervous about the same thing, but so far so good. I have one nick that I dropped an Allen key on when I was building. It hit right on the corner. Other than that, no scratches yet. I do notice when you put the T-nuts in, and if you're using a little bit bigger of a bolt that you should, it will go into the aluminum and obviously go through the powder coating. But if you're careful on that, you should be good to go. I have 0 scratches, and I'm on this thing nightly.
You have no negative thoughts about your rig?
Now the inverted pedal tray is fantastic. It's a mod, like this thing does not move whatsoever. And I was watching Will's video and specifically looking for movement, and you just don't see it.
I mean, that's why we buy these things. That's why the 80/20 works so well, because you got to put that wheelbase and the pedals and the seat in a place where they never move, never, not even a millimeter.
Yeah, and Mackenzie, I think you were asking what should be your first upgrade. I think pedals and rig go hand in hand, but you just got to get something that's rock solid. That's, like Mike's saying, not going to move.
You guys keep mentioning 80/20. 80/20 is just about 6 miles down the road from me.
Is that 8020.net?
Yeah, the main facility.
Yeah, if you can pick up for them, great. They wanted to charge like half a body to ship. So I found tnuts.com, TNUTZ.com, and their shipping is incredible. And you can order whatever piece you want and that cut at whatever specific length you want.
Yeah, the same with the 80/20. And get with Bobby, PM him because he designs rigs. He's got software. Boom, you can make your own custom rig.
Yeah, I was able to make my monitor mount by measuring and cutting. I was just blown away how perfect it came out.
Is
For
that
the monitor
cheap?
mount.
Is that cheaper than buying a Prius made one from a manufacturer?
If you can pick it up, yes.
Definitely.
Because the shipping will be a couple of $100. Especially if you get something like SimLabs out of Germany. That was some expensive shipping.
So when I was building my rig and I had to build my inverted pedal setup, I bought the metal and everything from McMaster Car is the name of it. McMaster Car. super expensive. I don't know why I bought it from them. They were a lot of money, but it was good stuff.
I added my shelf for the butt kicker controls from 80/20 pieces. Just easy little triangle or box to make, and a sheet of aluminum from the local air conditioner guy in the town I work in. He just gave me a free sheet of aluminum.
I do like when you go to these other parties for the extrusion, their brackets or corner brackets are, you can get some really nice ones that'll be pretty sturdy, because for my monitor mount, it's kind of floating, and the only thing holding it up are two corner brackets, and that thing is, I could stand on it and use it as a ladder if I had to.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and move us on to the next thing. We've got an Eau Rouge Evo button box. This is presented by Custom Sim Engineering. It runs €209, and it's similar to the DSD designs where it actually attaches to the base. What's kind of the notable difference between this one and the DSDs for me is that it comes out and then has a more of a vertical design instead of a horizontal design. So it's a little bit less wide and taller.
I
What are
like
those?
it. Yeah.
I actually, looking at it, looks fantastic. But what is the button box under the wheel?
No, you're just seeing the one on the other side. So there's a left and a right.
You're right.
Now when I had the Fanatec DD1, I almost bought a Rouge button boxes. I really preferred these over the Derek Spears, mainly for what David just said. It goes out and it goes down. It's more of a vertical, and you can get one for both sides or just one side. Um, I was like had it in the shopping cart at one point, and I was going to buy it, and I'm kind of glad I did it at this point. But if you have a DD1, this is something you definitely want to look at.
Yeah, the price isn't